electrifying can be really upsetting for them. But now all of that boring stuff is out of the way, can I get a show of hands for anyone in the room that is scared of sharks? I'm sure we've got one or two people. Okay, oh, we've just got a few people just there on the side. Alright, is anyone here not afraid of sharks? We see way more now. Okay, so that's a big improvement on this side, especially a few on this side and a few unsure hands there at the top. Now here at Blue Planet Aquarium, I do spend an awful lot of my time trying to convince people like yourselves that sharks are not scary at all. They're incredibly vital to marine ecosystems, but the media makes them out to be these terrifying, bloodthirsty animals that infest our waters. Now I don't blame you if you do think like this. Films like Jaws, Sharknado, even The Meg all do a really good job trying to tell us that these are dangerous animals and will do anything to hurt us. Now don't get me wrong, accidents do happen, as they do with every animal on the planet. But would you believe me if I told you in actual fact you are far more likely to die in a catastrophic vending machine accident than you ever are to be killed by a shark? And that's because sharks only account for about 4 human deaths per year. Now I say only because these are mainly down to misunderstanding, as when we go on holiday to these lovely, warm, sunny countries, we go for a swim in their nice warm waters. The first thing that we do when we spot a shark, due to films like Jaws, is to thrash around and we start to panic. Now this thrashing behaviour is going to confuse the shark, and they're going to think one of two things. They're either going to think that A, we're an animal in distress, meaning we're a very easy meal and a very easy target. As sharks are very prehistoric animals, I'd say. They've been here longer than trees have, they've been around longer than the North Star has, and they've even been around longer than, well, should I say, around the rings around Saturn. So these are ancient animals, and because of that, they're very instinct driven. They're only going to hunt when they really need to, and they'll only hunt when they need to eat. So if they see an animal that's already dying, that's when they're going to go for it, and that's when they're going to eat it. Now the other reason for these very infrequent attacks is that when we start to thrash around in the water, the animal might see this as us trying to attack them, and like any animal in the animal kingdom, they will try to defend themselves. Now I'm probably not filled with confidence telling you all this, but if you compare those 4 human deaths per year to any other animal on the planet, you're going to realise it is next to nothing. For example, cows alone kill 22 people every single year, making them the UK's most deadliest animal. Hippos account for about 3,000 deaths every single year. Snakes account for about 140,000 deaths every single year. And more people have actually died in the past hour from a mosquito bite than sharks have killed in the past 100 years added together. Statistically speaking, you are far more likely to die on holiday, sunbathing on the beach underneath a tree and a coconut falls out and hits you on the head. As falling coconuts account for a whopping 150 deaths every single year. And finally, you're more likely to receive a fatal bite from a person sitting next to you right now, even if you don't know them, than you ever are to receive a fatal bite from a shark. So if any of you want to move seats, please do feel free to. Now here at Blue Planet Aquarium, I am proud to say that we do house one of Europe's largest collection of sharks. And as you can imagine, the vast majority of them live in this great big tank behind me. This is our biggest display on site, holding 3.8 million litres of water. And to put that into perspective, if you took a bath every day from the day you were born up until the day you're about 50 years old, you'd only just have enough water to fill this tank. Now the 4 species of shark that we've got living in there, from our biggest to our smallest, we have our sand tiger sharks, like Big Betty right behind me. Followed in by our sand tiger sharks, we have our tuna sharks. Then we've got our black tips, like that little one just on the left-hand side over there. And then finally we have our bamboos. Now the first ones I'm going to tell you all about are obviously going to be the sand tiger sharks. Now you'll notice that our sand tigers look a lot like a great white shark, And that's because they're in the great white family. However, they are slightly smaller, but they do have way more teeth. Some tigers have roughly 250 needle-like teeth at any given time that they're continuously shedding and regrowing throughout their lifetime. Now, Betty, as you can imagine, is by far the biggest animal that we house here at Blue Planet. She's touching on about 12.5 feet long at the moment, which is about where I am now, all the way to that staircase over there, and she weighs a whopping 35 stone. Now you might be wondering why Betty is so big, and that is literally just because she's a female, as females in the marine kingdom do tend to be a lot larger than the males, as this just gives their offspring a better chance of survival, even when they're born for a live birth when they hatch from an egg. Now Betty has taken this a step further, as even for a female she is insanely large, and the main reason for that is because of what she's doing right now, and that is sleeping. Big Betty spends 22 hours of her day, every single day, fast asleep, like we can see right now. Now the way to tell when a shark is sleeping is by the way that they're moving their tails. As you can see, Betty is barely moving her tail from side to side, which is a very short sign that she's fast asleep. Whereas that black tip that just whizzed past the window was wide awake, and you can see these big forceful swings. Now I do often get asked how a shark can navigate when they're fast asleep. And now it's a common misconception that they just switch off half of their brains, but the animal kingdom doesn't really work like that. Instead, sharks have 2 organs that we humans don't have. Now they're really easy to spot. One of them, next time a shark goes past, if you look from their eyeball all the way to the tip of their tail, you'll notice they've got a line go down the entire side of their body. Now this might just look like a scratch, like it does in a lot of our animals. As our black tip is demonstrating, this is just a big bundle of nerves strung together, and those nerves pick up any vibrations in the water. By picking up on the vibrations, a shark can detect the water moving around them, and by doing this, it prevents them from bumping into any animals, and it does mean that in any murky waters it can help them when they're hunting. This is what stops our sharks from bumping into their window, even when they're fast asleep, and even sometimes from bumping into the rocks in the background there. Now after Betty, our second biggest shark is called Alfie, but is also affectionately called the crazy shark. Now don't worry, Alfie doesn't get this nickname because he's dangerous in any way, shape or form. The main reason that Alfie is known as the crazy shark is just because he doesn't respect personal space. Alfie's a shark that you're most likely going to see go nose to nose into the window or even into our divers, and that's firstly because he doesn't look where he's going and he really doesn't have a grasp of personal space. Now Alfie again is fast asleep at the moment. I did just see him go in the background there, so hopefully you'll get a good look at him as well. Now the other way that a shark knows where they're going, even when they're fast asleep, are the small black dots that they've got on the tips of their noses. This is an organ called the ampullae of Lorenzini, which is a very fancy way of saying they can pick up on electrical signals in the water. I've been joined by our divers this morning. So first of all today we've got Sophie. We've got Sophie who's going to be feeding our animals today. Followed by Sophie, we've also got Fergus. Fergus is going to be our safety diver. And up on that balcony up there we've also got Adam. Adam is going to be our dive supervisor. He's going to keep an eye on the whole dive to make sure that everything runs nice and safely and smoothly. Now we're going to be talking to our divers through the window today, but obviously they can't hear us and we can't hear them. So we're going to talk to them using a series of diver signals. First of all, you want to ask if they're okay by making an okay symbol like this for me. I'm going to head over to Sophie. Sophie, how are you feeling today? Brilliant. Then we head over to Fergus. Fergus, how are you feeling today? Fantastic. Now the reason I'm doing this and not a thumbs up is because the thumbs up needs to go to the surface. We want to keep our divers here at the bottom where we can see them. Now when our divers are in the water, they're actually extremely buoyant. As well as the salt in this tank in the air that gets trapped in our divers' wetsuits, we do need a way of stopping them from floating off. So our divers will carry about 5 to 7 kilograms of weight each. They can either wear this as a belt around their waist, or as Sophie's demonstrating, which can wear it in the pockets of her BCD. These blocks are made out of lead, which is a very dense and heavy metal, and that just means it can fit more in their pockets when they need to. Now if we have a look at our divers' backs, we'll get them to turn around. You'll see that they're wearing 2 cylinders, although Sophie is only wearing 1 as our feeder dive today. Oh, and so is Fergus. Now this big tank on their back is called their main tank, holds about an hour and a half of air. On other dives they will have a pony tank which holds 30 minutes of air, and that's just spare air for themselves or for their partner, and it can be used to build their buoyancy control device, which is a life jacket they wear around their torsos to use in case of an emergency. Now to check how much air our divers have in their tanks, they'll have what's called a pressure gauge. Now these gauges are measured in a unit called bar. They've got 200 bar for the last hour and a half. When it gets down to the red section, that means we've got 15 minutes left to either swap tanks or to leave the water. Brilliant, thank you, there we go. Now as our divers are obviously underwater a lot of the time, we rely on signals to communicate what's going on. If a fire alarm's ever going off, for example, and our divers can't hear it, we need a very clear and easy signal to tell them to go up to the surface as quickly as possible. So if we give Sophie a big thumbs up, she's going to head up to the surface for us by pressing a button on the side of her BCD. That'll inflate her jacket with air, throw her up to the top, and when we want her to come back down, we'll give her a big thumbs down like this, and that'll bring her right back down to the bottom. Now when we go swimming, one of the most annoying things that happens is obviously water getting into our goggles. And typically we just swim up to the top, tip our goggles out, put them back on our face. Divers don't really have this luxury, especially when there's 5 metres of water between them and the surface, and obviously a lot of big animals that serve as an obstacle. So our divers are trained to clear water out of their masks without moving from where they are. Now to do this, Sophie's going to tip her head back, blow bubbles onto her mask. Those bubbles will displace that water, and as you can see, absolutely fine, it'll clear her mask for us. If we want to be really mean to Sophie, however, we can tell her to completely remove her mask. Now this might seem a bit unnecessary, but as divers this can happen quite often. This can be from their partner swimming in front of them and knocking that mask off their face, but it could also be from Alfie, our crazy shark, swimming directly into her and knocking that off her face as well. Now if we want to be really mean to Sophie again, we can ask her to completely remove her regulator. Now you'll notice that once she's removed her regulator, she's not going to hold her breath. Instead she's going to blow out a continuous stream of bubbles, and that's because as divers you're told to never hold your breath into the water. This can lead to an overexpansion of the lungs, and at depths this deep that can be incredibly dangerous. As once they take to the surface, this can lead to an overexpansion of their lungs, then a collapse, and obviously that's not something we want to happen to our staff. But thank you for that, Sophie. We move on to Fergus now. The reason we've not done this to Fergus is, as our safety diver, he needs to be able to see what's going on around him, and he needs to remain aware of what's going on as well. But Fergus, when he can't see Sophie, he needs to be able to communicate as quickly and as clearly as possible, and to do this he just taps 2 bolts together. Can any of you hear that? So that loud noise travels very quickly through the water. It lets us know what's going on in there, and it lets Sophie know as well. And you might have noticed that indirectly it does work quite well as a dinner bell for all of our fish, as we can see here at the window. So you can wave off Fergus now once Alfie is moved out of the way. Alfie heard that noise and knows that something's going on, and he likes to be the first one to investigate. Like they said, he gets the nickname Crazy Shark just because he doesn't respect that personal space. We can wave off Fergus now. He's going to go sit on the side for us and keep an eye on Sophie. And Sophie's going to head up and she's going to be feeding all of these animals here. Now this morning we're going to be performing what's called a scatter feed, and this is exactly how it sounds. She's going to head up there and get a recycled bottle filled with mussel-y, krill, fish and squid. She's then going to spray it in a circle around her, and that's going to give all of these small animals in there an equal bite to eat. Now for any of our bigger animals, this obviously wouldn't be very effective. So any of our sharks, they are all target fed, so we can keep track of what they've eaten and when. And it's the best way to make any necessary changes to their diets, and that can be dependent on their age, their size, or just their general health. Once Sophie gets back down here, you're going to see exactly why this is also called a tornado feed. Now this tornado feed is why Fergus's job as safety diver today is so important. As right now, Sophie can't see anything around it other than this big group of swimming fish. Now my favourite species that you see in this tornado are definitely the unicorn fish. If you want to look out for the unicorn fish, you'll see they've got this big protruding horn from their forehead, so they're really easy to spot. They look exactly how you'd imagine them to. That is everything for our dive presentation and fish feed this morning. If you do have any questions for me, please do feel free to come up on stage and ask me at the end. If you want to follow our divers, head on through the tunnel, give them